Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back with another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, February 25th and we are on the Asian account. I've got 3 things to do today, trying to get everything done. Guess the one we roll would be the most difficult one. Alright, so we need to win a Paladin Priest game and then 2 games of any class. We're getting some easy 50 gold quests because they're shortchanging us on gold, and we're not getting the 60, 80, or 100 gold quest. Alright, that was Paladin and Priest, right? That I just said? Yeah, Paladin and Priest. So, hop in here. We've still got a bunch of news left over, and I'm trying to get through it all, but I'm not making great progress. Honestly, after losing footage on last Monday, I should have done an extra stream on the weekend. That would have been the thing to do. Is play an extra day of Hearthstone and make some extra footage. Going forward, I will work from that perspective. If I ever miss a day of footage or just get really far behind. Anyways, starting with news, Gamasutra has an article, the FTC to begin looking a loot box investigation with a public workshop. I'm not sure in the current government if that's really going to change much, quite frankly, with the current person, Joseph Simmons, chairing the FTC. But we'll see. Other countries certainly have investigated loot boxes and found them not to the liking of consumers or the government. I wouldn't be surprised, however, if they investigated loot boxes and said, they're A-okay. No gambling here. This is just an ad for GDC. I don't need to talk about that. Gamasutra promoting GDC because they're sister companies. Let's see. TechRaptor has an article. A unreleased DICE Genesis game is finally getting a release thanks to Analog. Let's see. Analog, I believe, is the company that's developing a, what is it, FPGA based emulator, or not really emulator, of
reporting for duty.
Let's end the turn here and save ourselves some frustration of old systems. So the company is called Analog, A-N-A-L-O-G-U-E, and their upcoming home console designed to play official Mega Drive, Genesis, Master System cartridges, the Mega SG. The game is finally getting a physical release. What game though? And what does it really matter?
I fight
for justice.
There we go.
Reporting for duty.
I'm having trouble getting the relevant facts. Oh, the game is called Hardcore. It's been unreleased since 1994. We can do a quick web peek and show what it is. I believe I saw a little bit about this game, and that the visual effects that it's doing right now actually wouldn't run on the system very well, and so that was kind of the problem and why it never got released, is that as a platformer shooter game, it actually was just never optimized. So Like looking at how fast those sprites are on the screen and how many sprites are on the screen, that does seem like something that an original Sega Genesis Master System would not really handle well. I imagine this game is also not completely finished, so they may have just patchworked a couple levels together. So Gamatsu, first article today from Gamatsu. A Compile Heart and Neptunia special day event is set for Dengeki Game Festival 2019 on March 30th. A happy surprise is teased. Here is one of the Neptunia girls. That's like Neptunia's anime characters representing consoles in JRPG games usually. I'm still thinking about playing the Neptunia series, but I'm not sure yet. The description teases, quote, all sorts of special Neptunia projects, as well as, quote, a happy surprise. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe this is a complete bundle or some re-releases of some of the older Neptunia games, maybe coming to a Switch, or maybe coming to Steam. Either one's pretty believable.
For justice.
Let's do this. Gamatsu has another article. Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil 4 for the Switch launches May 21st. A trio of Resident Evil titles are coming to the Switch. Now, they're coming via the eShop, and in North America, a Resident Evil Origins collection, including Resident Evil and Resident Evil 0, will be available at retail, but in Europe, no retail release is planned. All three games are currently playable on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC, as well as other platforms. Now, arguably, I would say that Resident Evil 4 is not playable, at least on my PC. So, be nice if they patched Resident Evil 4 so it would work on my video card or whatever is wrong with it, so it doesn't micro stutter terribly. It's playable, certainly. I guess that's a true statement. It's just not acceptable level of quality, and none of the later Resident Evil games run well on my graphics card, which is why I'd like to buy a new graphics card, but they're so expensive, and I really have barely had the one I had for maybe, I guess, 4 years now. I would have definitely liked YouTube or Patreon to have paid back a lot more to justify buying more equipment after 4 years.
None will survive.
Let's see.
Is someone
Play
injured?
this. Next we have a game on Steam called The Witchcraft of Swords Sky Sword. It looks like it's kind of a bullet hell shooter, except for you're playing as an anime girl that's swinging swords instead of shooting. So it might be one of the first instances of a bullet hell slicer. English not supported, $4.99. Japanese game, unfortunately.
Must consider.
In the light's name. Right away.
So it's probably a game you could figure out how to play pretty easily, but I wouldn't want to make I wouldn't want to try and play a game if it says English is not supported.
You are the Shadow's puppet.
And
Face the light.
That.
Right away.
So earlier in this stream, we talked about how Tencent we talked about Tencent adding these restrictions to Chinese streamers that their actions have to fall in line with Chinese government's authoritarian rules. And yeah, I'm peeved by a video game company telling streamers anywhere how to act when they have no business saying that, particularly in a legal fashion, in the way of a license. Well, China's going to get some more heat, I think, in part. Now, this kind of is more of a heat on this Taiwanese developer than anything else, but the story does kind of start to revolve around free speech issues too. So the story here from GameIndustry.biz is Taiwanese developer under fire for mocking Chinese president. Update: Red Candles Games Devotion removed from Steam for quality assurance check after in-game art calls Xi Jinping, the president/dictator of China, Winnie the Pooh moron in Chinese or Taiwanese characters. It is worth noting that anytime anything directly attacks the Chinese president or China in general, a lot of Chinese people will come and review bomb brigade and throw fits. And in the same way as I've said previous times, it's free speech is free speech. If a bunch of Chinese people who should not even have access to Steam somehow get through the Great Firewall of China and come and review bomb the game, let's give them that free speech, particularly these Chinese people who do not have that free speech. Even if they are just internet trolls, if they're just the same as Russian trolls and it's the Chinese government directly funding them, it's not really gonna hurt the sales of Devotion, I think. Now, it's a little uncalled for, but there's a lot of issues too, certainly. So the article goes on below. Update to Red Candle Games has published a Facebook post clarifying that Devotion's removal from Steam was for the purpose of performing, quote, another complete QA test. At the same time, we would like to take this opportunity to ease the heightened pressure in our community resulted from our previous art material incident. Our team would also review our game once again and make sure there's no unintended materials was inserted in. The post continues. Hopefully this would help all audience to focus on the game itself again upon its return. Almost certainly the truth of this is that an artist snuck this in, and this is not an official opinion that Red Candle Games wants to hold to. If it was, they would just not have taken it down at all. On the other hand, like, you're balancing free speech issues here in my mind. If Red Candle Games wants to make their official position that Xi Jinping is Winnie the Pooh moron and they hate him, free speech, say it. It's I don't have a problem with that. They should stand by it if that's what they want to stand by. If it was just a rogue employee causing a lot of trouble, that sucks. That's not nice to your fellow co-workers who potentially could lose their jobs now. Like from the perspective of somebody in the United States, if if somebody made a game saying like Trump was dumb, half the country wouldn't care. If somebody made a game saying Obama was dumb, half the country wouldn't care. You probably wouldn't see any major rampant bombarding, review bombing. There have been, in previous instances, games that were supposed to be wars between China, a fictional China, and a fictional United States, and that's what the Homeland series was supposed to be, but instead they didn't want the political pressure, and so they changed it to North Korea somehow defeated and took over the United States. So people have been sensitive about insulting China in particular for a long time. And there's non-video game stories. There was like one I vaguely heard details about where some Tibetan was given a prominent role in a school, in a college organization. So she was like valedictorian or something, and all the Chinese students threw a fit about that. Seems like the consistent issue here is Chinese people are particularly sensitive, and the old stereotype is they're also particularly rude. Instead of just taking it on the chin and moving on. So, like, I can't really even make this a anti-Red Candle game story without really putting my own opinion on how the world is on this. The first update, it says as of Monday afternoon, Devotions no longer appears. They mention the Winnie the Pooh part. In 2017, Chinese censors banned Winnie the Pooh references on social media after they were using that as a stand-in for talking about President Xi, because they were trying to dodge restrictions to mock the leaders. So there was definitely a lot of people in China that are not happy with President Xi either. Red Candle's co-founders apologized for the posters in the game's Steam page, saying it was the work of one developer and the rest of the studio was unaware of its presence in the game. I think that that's probably true. It could be also not true. Let's see. It was written, I think, in Taiwanese, so it would kind of make sense. That nobody else. Right now, I clicked on the game Devotion. It takes me to a content posted in this community may contain strong violence or gore thing. Let's see. There's an official statement that this link took me to, and doesn't seem like I can get to their storefront. Let's see if I click all. What does that take me to? Nope. So February 26th, 25th, 3:18 a.m. Let's see. Official statement regarding Devotion's current state. Like, 1. Red Candle Games hearing confirmed the following information spreading on the internet is incorrect. And then 1 again, you should switch to A or B. It should go 1, then A, then 1 in Roman numerals. The highly estimated sales number of Devotion. It hasn't apparently sold as well as people are saying. The extensive implication about the game content And 3 Photoshop statement screenshots made by a forged official account. For the official information, Red Candle's Facebook account and a Steam page are the only reliable sources. We kindly remind you not to it. Let's see. Oh, I want to do this. Just keep on playing cards.
Is someone injured?
2, big 2. The theme of devotion is about how a cult does harm to people, leading to a tragedy caused by pure parental love. For the earlier sensitive art material included, the whole team at Red Candle bears the responsibility of this awfully unprofessional mistake. It is not Red Candle's vision to secretly project extensive ideology, nor is it to attack any person in the real world. 3, as a game company, Red Candle's only goal is to provide an impressive and good playing experience to all. I kind of disagree with that. Your goal is to make money. Did I lose? Yeah, I did. Alright, let's keep playing. 4, so genuine hope that everyone can remain calm and shift the focus back on the game's core message. At the moment, we're in the process of business mediation. We kindly ask anyone to remain calm and give Red Candle some time to address the incident.
I will fight with honor.
Then the first comment is, what your company did was disgusting and ugly. There's no reason to purchase your game. I will not deny the quality of this game, but your company made a huge mistake installing Chinese people and its leader. There's no tolerance of it. I wish this company will bankrupt as soon as possible. So almost certainly a Chinese person there, and there's a lot of comments here that definitely seem like they are Chinese, but they can't review bomb the game per se. Looking at the artwork of this game, artwork is the thing that anybody can put up, so somebody put up a Winnie the Pooh picture, of course, trolled, and people are, let's see, what I'm trying to look here and see is what this game looked like before. Can I look at reviews? Let's see. Most of the reviews here I'm seeing are positive for this game. Under most helpful. Let's see. Most helpful negative reviews.
The light protects me.
Let's see. Yeah, first of all, the review bombing is ridiculous. Things. Let's see. So yeah, there's probably some positive review bombing happening here too. I really want to see this game though. That's the part that I'm missing, is what does this game really look like? The Facebook post has it in apparently Chinese too.
Speak your peace.
I fight. The light protects me.
Yeah, and their Facebook just has a bunch of Chinese comments too. see what their Facebook page with photos looks like. Oh, okay. Now I remember which one is Devotion. No, that's Detention. Is Devotion the same company that made Detention?
I wonder.
I don't think so. And I really don't have time for this to do actual news research.
I fight.
Alright, let's see. Apparently, also the YouTube channel has been scrubbed of any mention of Devotion. Let's see if we can click on some of these other games. This story seems to have come from Reset Era, which, man, doesn't all the drama come from Reset Era these days?
Reporting for duty.
I doubt the game is never coming back. It might come back under a different name of some sort. Alright, here we go. So, I'm looking at a trailer. This is not the game Detention. It's not a 2D thing. This is a full 3D game. Here we can do a little bit of a quick web peek here, but I don't want to spend too much time watching this trailer because A, it's just going to be a trailer, and B, it's going to potentially maybe get flagged. Seems like most of the trailer is audio wise focused. Yeah, it seems a lot like the game, like one of the horror adventure games where you're just gonna walk around and it's gonna have a few puzzles, but mostly just be an adventure sort of walking simulator game. This game, definitely being 3D, being very polished, kind of has to come back out on sale. Like you can't not sell this as a product in one way or another. You rename it, you do something different. Let's see. We could go to their YouTube channel.
Versus Rexar.
Let the hunt begin.
Yeah, the YouTube just has the game Detention, which was the game before that. So it is the same company. So then the next thing to ask, let's come over here, do some research. Let's see, we've got a game here. Let's quickly mention this one called 365 Days. It's already rated mostly negative on Steam. So I just needed to show this so I could type in Detention into this and see if that's still on Steam. This game is $6.99 for 30 cents. Totally not worth it. Is it even single player? Oh, it's only single player. Come over here and play, and Detention. Here we go. So here is Detention, which is, I didn't realize it was a Taiwanese horror game. You can see it's mostly negative, so people are actually buying the game to review it down to 30%, where it was 75% before. This is what the game really looks like. And it was published in part by AGM Playism, $11.99. And so I imagine there's a bunch of, here you can see, here's review bombing for you, and that big drop there, like 1,875 negative reviews on people who probably have not played the game at all, and that's why these new systems are helpful. Let's see, 6 hours, Chinese.
In the light's name.
So what do you expect happens here? Either Red Candle Games, in this instance, decides to pull all of their games. They got an 83 on Metacritic, a kind of very highly rated game. Either they pull them all off the Steam store and go to, say, the Epic storefront, and then they don't allow reviews, which honestly that's probably their best solution right now, is to just pull all their games off Steam, go to the Epic storefront, or you just ride it out.
Quickly.
Like, this game I'm fairly certain is already on my wish list, and it's not really going off the wish list. Both Detention and their new game Devotion seem like good games, and this is apparently Devotion came out on February 19th. So they've, as of yet, not found everywhere to scrub Devotion off. But the only games they have right now are Detention and the soundtrack for Detention. Okay, well. Hey, this is a danger, certainly, for any small company anyway. Particularly if there are, you're in a country where there are a considerable amount of people who are dogmatically hateful to the point where they would risk their co-workers' jobs and their own job and the entire company just to say something hateful. I would say in the United States we have, as of yet, had anything come out from a major developer where, like, people said they just hated, like, people in the United States saying they hate any minority in the United States, take your pick. There probably has been an incident like that. I just can't think of it happening. That's probably because more money is spent. There's more of an interest to make sure everything is done and crossed and tested. But I know in anime, when in Japanese, a lot of things are written on the walls and the people translating them to English don't really have a clue what it says, and they don't care, and so they just let things slide by, or they have let things slide by. Usually not terribly offensive things, just things that you wouldn't want in your show.
Right away.
Let's see, moving on, I believe Sega has, no, Bandai Namco has renewed a trademark with the, for the games Rolling Thunder and the game, what was this other game? Mappy, M-A-P-P-Y, which were two NES games. So I'm assuming what you take from that is that Bandai Namco is allowing the Nintendo Online service to re-release, like, emulator versions of those games, at least in the Japanese market for the Nintendo support, the Nintendo online service. There's no real news other than that. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. IDW drops Ninja Division from all projects. IDW Games, renowned for publishing many licensed board games, have dropped Ninja Division from all their current and future projects, citing complaints. It says complaints, but it should be complaints from concerned customer. Ninja Division is a board game publisher and a miniature manufacturer who's been contracted to create the miniatures for IDW's Wayward, and were also hinted to be involved in the upcoming Ghostbusters Men in Black crossover game. Now these are board games, so I think I'm probably reporting on something that's not video game related. Let's see. Ninja Division is widely known as sphere of tabletop gaming for their Kickstarter projects, which have failed to deliver to their backers, as well as having to fire a huge portion of their staff toward the end of 2018. Okay. Yeah, that's about as far as I need to go in this article. This is a board game news. TechRaptor reports on board games every now and then and tricks me into thinking they're talking about video games. There is a company called Ninja and Ninja Theory that make video games, and that was probably my confusion. I'm not sure there's any IDW company in video games, but there's like an IDW in comic books, I think. Let's see. Gematsu has an article here. We can do a web peek. Final Fantasy X, X2 HD remasters, and Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age for Xbox One and Switch trailers and artwork. So these games are getting remastered. They're coming out in April. Let's see if we can get a real date. Let's see. April 16th for X and X2 HD remasters, and 12 and 7 The Zodiac Age is April 30th. Both titles are currently on PS4 and PC, while Final Fantasy XX2 HD is also available on PS3 and Vita. Alright. So, earlier in the stream, there was an opinion piece talking about how in the last 10 years, Square Enix has found its soul in small, non-Final Fantasy JRPG indie games that they happen to publish. I didn't really agree with that opinion, and the fact that they are republishing Final Fantasy games like crazy kind of disagrees with that directly. Moving on, the Monster Rancher series has an official Twitter account opened, which is weird. This would be the 20th anniversary of the 1999 released PlayStation title Monster Rancher 2. Monster Rancher, aka Monster Farm in Japan. I don't know if you could bring about a Monster Rancher game to the West. That cartoon did air for a brief season, maybe two, but it hardly was the biggest success ever, and it didn't fall anywhere as successful as Pokemon or Digimon, and so
I will fight with
yeah,
honor.
I don't think that would come to the West, even if there are a few people that would have nostalgic feelings for it if there was a new game. Nobody's really calling, to my knowledge, for remakes and reboots of a lot of the old cartoons. anyways, they just weren't that good.
The light protects me.
Job's done.
Like, if they were good, they'd still be airing or popular enough to have something going on. Like Power Rangers is a pretty awful show, but it was successful enough to continue to air even today.
Reporting for duty.
The last time I checked.
I fight.
Moving on, we have a game from Komatsu. Summer Pockets for Switch launches June 20th in Japan. The romance visual novel has been dated, so it's coming out June 20th in Japan. No indication here that it's coming to the West, but I wouldn't be surprised. Seems like that is the now standard operating procedure, is to have as many have everything come out on the Switch everywhere to get just a few more sales, and that's a good thing. Like, more games to play. Let's see. Oh, I already mentioned this article, but GameIndustry.biz, employees demand Microsoft cancels a $479 million HoloLens military contract. Engineers on the project believed it would, quote, push the boundaries of gaming, not, quote, turn to warfare into a simulated video game. So, yeah, the Microsoft employees are not happy with Microsoft taking a military contract. I don't think Microsoft's going to care. For $479 million, you can find some people to replace those people.
Reporting for duty. Job's done.
Like, I mean, even as just a general concept, if you demand to quit or walk off a job, and the company gives in on that, you're straight up to a point of unionization there, and I don't think Microsoft wants to deal with the union. So, just on principle, they're not going to agree to that unless they get forced into it. Although I could see maybe Bill Gates steps in and says no, cancel that contract or something. But if they really cared, they probably wouldn't do any business with the military.
Reporting for duty. To battle.
Moving on, though, Gamma Sutra has an article. Get a job. Wizards of the Coast, Techland, and more are now hiring. If you want to be a back-end engineer for Mythical Games in LA, that's available. If you want to be a cinematic animator for Sucker Punch Productions in Bellevue, Washington, that's available. If you want to be a game designer in residence at the Maryland Institute of College of Art in Baltimore, Maryland, that's available. If you want to be a senior software engineer at Wizards of the Coast in Renton, Washington, that's available. If you want to be a programmer for gameplay systems C++ for Techland in Warsaw, Poland, that's available. That's basically all their jobs. They just put it in a roundup in another article for no reason. I'm fairly certain I've already talked about all of those jobs previously.
Reporting for duty.
Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Tahoe, T-A-H-K-O Alpine Ski. This doesn't look terrible. It's like a VR game. So if you wanted to ski in VR, my fear is you'd fall over. It's free to play too, so if you have a VR headset, if you've already invested the hundreds of dollars required for that, then you might want to try this out. It's probably short for free to play. It doesn't have any in-game
Is someone injured?
microtransactions or anything, so I bet there's not much here. And again, I feel like you would probably not be learning the proper stances, and you'd be falling over, or you'd be learning thinking you're getting better at skiing when you're actually getting worse at skiing. Moving on, we have what looks like a pretty obvious troll game. Mac L. Oliver's Dating Trainer. Let's see. This seems like this is just a worse version of Super Seducer. $4.49 discounted. Yeah, I don't think so. I'm trying to cover all these games and catch up. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Norpon. This doesn't look terrible. Looks like it's a RPG. It's a little weird seeing the life bars and the attack bars just pop up kind of like a comic book, or like that Batman 66 TV show. This is early access for $19.99. If it was single player, I'd give it a chance, but since it's multiplayer, that's just out of the kind of games I cover. As a massive multiplayer game, it's probably not supported by a well-known company enough for this to make sense. It's not really showing us anything too different or too unique. It's just kind of doing the generic things relatively well.
For justice. Reporting for duty.
Let's see. Gamma Sutra has an article report. Microsoft plans to announce 2 next-gen Xbox consoles. I'll just skim over the story like I understand it. Yeah, we already talked about this story. There's the thought that there will be a low end with no disc tray and a high end with more power and assumedly a disc tray. I don't see how you'd end up downloading anything smaller than what was on the disc anyway, so people are not going to develop 2 collections of the game, one with lower quality graphics and one with higher quality graphics based on how much you can download.
Reporting for duty. For justice.
Let's go kill this one.
Reporting for duty.
In return. Let's see. I gotta check this next game because it's tagged sexual content. And it seems like it has no reason to be tagged sexual content whatsoever. We've got a game on Steam called Apoaxis. I think that's how you... Apoapsis? I don't know. It looks like it's just a kind of low quality platformer shooter game. None of the screenshots really show anything except for the trailer. It slightly shows something. Jiggle animation and suggestive artwork, and that gets you sexual content? Maybe. It seems like you're just kind of playing a female character. It says 15 minutes Metroidvania with a joystick. They want $2.99 discounted for that. 15-minute Metroidvania sounds like total garbage to me.
For justice.
Not something I would ever really be interested in doing.
For duty.
Just because that's a
Job done. Reporting for duty.
waste of my time, frankly. I want to get more committed. I want to get more committed into a Metroidvania game than 15 minutes. Let's see. Let's
Speak your
This.
peace.
and this
Reporting for duty.
and
For justice.
Do as much damage as possible. Yeah, I would have been short a little bit. Gamma Sutra has an article. Capcom CEO, Chief Operating Officer, I assume is COO, calls out the growing value of PC as a platform. Nice to hear. This is kind of just one of these three-paragraph barely stories, but to hear a Japanese manager of a Japanese company like Capcom start to recognize that PC matters even to them is a nice turn. Does that inherently mean that more people are playing on PC in Japan? We really don't even have a good way of seeing those numbers as far as I've seen. I've not seen anybody keep any kind of metrics as far as PC sales or even PC hardware sales that I can find. And I could certainly see Capcom and other Japanese companies just saying, oh, we're focusing more on PC as a way of kind of pretending like they're focusing on PC, but not really, or as a way of saying, well, the PlayStation's not that important as it used to be, or Nintendo's not as important as it used to be. Any of those could be side reasons for that. You might just praise a competitor to insult another competitor. We've got a game on Steam called The Great Emu War of 1932. I believe, from what I've heard, the Great Emu War was a war that was lost by the Australians against emus, trying to eradicate them. That being said, this game doesn't look particularly interesting. It's discounted for $4.49. Yeah. Basically, they sent a bunch of military people, I assume, and not just hunters and poachers, out to eradicate the emus, and they failed to do that. At YT Advertisers tweeted out something. Let's see if I can quote it. Here it is. There's no limit to what you and at YouTube can accomplish together. Submit your best campaign to the hashtag YouTube Works US Awards and see your work celebrated. And then a link to YouTube Works. This is, of course, there's no limit to what you as an advertisers can accomplish, is what they're saying. There's a large limit on what you can accomplish as a content creator on YouTube. So that that was just a slightly infuriating tone-deaf statement from YouTube advertisers. But then I guess very few content creators follow the YouTube advertisers Twitter page, so they can say whatever they want. Let's see. Gamma Sutra has an article. Steam's review bombing has led to more problems for devotions developers. This is basically the lesser updated version of the article we already covered. So it's just less updated, so I don't see a reason to go over that again. Let's play this. Let's do this. Hit that. GameIndustry.biz, ArenaNet bracing for layoffs. Update: layoffs confirmed to have occurred today as part of the organization restructuring. Following the weekend, it appears that the promised layoffs at ArenaNet have officially taken place. A flood of current and former employees at the studios shared memories, well wishes, and job postings today via the hashtag #LoveForArenaNet hashtag on Twitter. Jeez, if I was laying off people, I would probably hire a PR company. That's a smart idea. like hire a PR company to start a hashtag and love for ArenaNet and like make it seem like people are just a little sad but not super upset with ArenaNet for laying them off. Let's see. The update doesn't show any real numbers or anything. Let's see. Let's see. I suppose this is slightly interesting in that ArenaNet is also the company that had Jessica Price, unfortunately, as an employee, and the other employee, and she was attacking the community, and they had to fire her, and then half the video game journalists were upset that she got fired for being incredibly rude. And going on a Twitter rant. Guild Wars 2, I suppose is what ArenaNet makes. So I imagine there are some SJWs out there that's saying this is their fault for firing Jessica Price and not standing behind her. Even though this happened like a year later. Let's see, moving on. Gamma Sutra has an article, Get a Job, Remedy Entertainment is looking for a technical producer. That's in Espoo, Finland, if you're interested. Still just trying to burn through this. I can see the end of the line, so if we can just burn through all of these Steam games, and there's a couple Gematsu articles left, we could have everything done today and we'll be back on track. So we've got a game on Steam called Gunpowder in Our Teeth. Now, if the game really is just grayscale, I'm not sure I'm willing to play a game that's in grayscale like this. But I kind of like this animation. There's some polish there. Yeah, it looks like it's a platformer, but it's just not visually appealing enough with that grayscale. $8.99 discounted is also asking quite a lot for Gunpowder in the Teeth arcade.
In the light's name.
I wonder if arcade implies that there's a different version of this game they plan on making or have made. Let's see. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Cursor by Mr. Island, which this is just a terrible low effort game. $1.99, no discount. I gotta applaud the guy for at least trying to make some branding, though. Instead of just calling your game Cursor, why not call it Cursor by your fake name that you're using? Let's see, Master Spell.
Flesh fails. Try your life.
Let's see. Can we show this? Yeah, it should be fun showing this. Let's see. We have an article from Gematsu. Square Enix trademarks the collection of mana in Japan following the Western Mana series update 2. So, Secret of Mana and other games. They've also trademarked Final Fantasy Adventures and Mystic Quest and Secret of Mana. Let's see. Let's see what the update is. Update, Square Enix has trademarked Secret of Mana in Japan, Mystic Quest in Japan. So they're following all kinds of trademarks. A new release of the Secret of Mana that does it justice might be nice, but there's kind of no guarantee that that's what would happen. They may just continue down the path of saying no, we're just gonna make terrible remasters and rip people off with those terrible remasters. Let's see. We have an article on Gamatsu Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon. Everybody, details removed and modified elements. Let's see. Pop-up duel and romantic phrases have been nixed. So apparently they wanted to make the game more family friendly for the rest of the world. These will be, I guess, remasters of older games. So let's see. This probably is just a censorship story, but it's kind of a censorship story about a game that doesn't probably interest anybody, or people are not going to be too upset about anyways. So I don't think there's anything to be pointed out here. It's kind of been going on for years that when you re-release games, you might make little tweaks here and there for even censorship reasons, and people don't really bat an eye. The problem comes when it's a brand new game and it's not even out yet, and the directors are coming out saying we're having to re-edit it and change it because the platform, typically Sony nowadays, is saying we can't release it the way we wanted to release it. What are we trying to do right now, by the way? Win 2 games of any kinds and win a game with his Paladin and Priest. Well, at this point, let's move over to casual. So I think we can keep within family friendliness to show this. Gamatsu has an article. Hakusei Renai Sokogon remaster announced for the Switch, PS Vita, and PC, due out digitally in April in Japan. This looks like it's a visual novel. Girls Love Yuri visual novel. It's getting remastered. It probably was pretty good. It was originally released for the PSP in September of 2001. Let's see, it was released and remastered again for PC in June 2012. So I need to do some research and see if this game is on Steam or not. And because if it's getting a remaster, then it has a little bit more reason why it would have relevancy. So there might be more reason to talk about it or play it. If I ever go down the route of visual novels, I may only go as far as promoting them and mentioning them when they come out or get announced, and that might be as far as I'm willing to spend my time on it, which is still miles ahead of what most Western video game news journalists do. Go ahead and hit that. Gamatsu has another article. Square Enix announces a treasure hunting RPG, Last Idea, for smartphones. Naming your game Last Idea for Square Enix, a company that named their game Final Fantasy because they thought it was going to be the last fantasy they ever made, tells me that this is probably Square Enix's last idea as far as a game, and they're in trouble. I'm reading a lot into that name, certainly. I kind of like this art style, although it is kind of all over the place with the hair. And this is just a...
Let me think.
ARG, like RPG game, so for cell phones, it's not like I'm gonna play it.
I fight.
Hit that. Let's see. Gamatsu has another article. Downtown Ranto Koshi Yokyu Mach announced for the PS4, Switch, and PC. Release date's not been announced. This looks like a group fighting game. It probably is not coming to the West, nor does it look particularly interesting. Apparently all of these were announced at like a Nintendo Direct or something, because here we have Forgotten End coming to the Switch, A Hat in Time coming to the Switch, Goat Simulator, and is that Shovel Knight there? Yeah, there's like a new Shovel Knight game, I believe. Which I'm sure people are going to yell at me for not having played Shovel Knight yet, even though people have told me to play it. Alright. Next we have a game on Steam called The Pusher, where you play as a drug dealer, drug pusher. For the most part, this looks like a troll game. I mean, it feels like it might let loose some secrets on how to actually be a drug dealer, so it might be harmful knowledge to know in general. It looks nice in the art style though. Like, if I saw a drug-based movie and it had this art style, I'd be fine with it and I'd like it. So I don't know if this really is just a bad game. Some of this looks pretty bad. Or if this actually is a game and somebody tried. It's early access for $3.99. Yeah, there's nothing here. The only thing is I kind of find the content objectionable. So if you are cool playing as a drug pusher, then this might be for you. I don't like the phrase pusher in particular. It wouldn't be family friendly for YouTube, certainly. Though if you're pushing drugs on people, I feel like that's wrong. If people are of adult age and sound mind and they're choosing to use drugs, that's slightly different in my mind. Like when I think pusher, I think that's someone who's intentionally giving you like better quality product at the beginning to get you hooked, and then rolling you back into crappy product later to make more money off of you. Someone who actively has less than the best intent for you. Moving on, we have, let me just double check these screenshots before we go into this. Mostly family friendly screenshots. There's this one bikini picture. We just won't scroll down that far. We have an article from Gamatsu, Blade Arcus Rebellion from Shiny Details, Mission Mode, Training Mode, and Art Gallery. It's due out March 14th in Japan. Apparently this is a fighting game. We'll see if it comes to the West. Seems like it's maybe an all-female cast of characters. A lot of these are just screenshots of things. There's some guys in the art gallery. And yeah, that's about as far as I can scroll down until I show off the bikini, which I don't want to show it off just in case. No, the fact that my channel is not monetized in the first place makes it really hard to tell if anything I've uploaded since since they changed the rules and kicked small YouTubers out of the YouTube Partner Program, makes it kind of impossible to know if anything I've posted since that point has been demonetized, because they don't tell you. You don't get the yellow icon if you're not making money in the first place. Everything's demonetized. Then I doubt they even really check. I do know that like Honey Pop was all demonetized on my channel, and I didn't bother to fight that. But that was kind of the only thing. There were some other random things as they were introducing that demonetizing system, and it was not working well. But that's kind of it. Let's do this.
To battle.
And let's do this.
Reporting for duty.
And do that.
Job done.
I'm probably gonna lose here. He's probably gonna play Mechathune, but he's got 18 more cards, so I could probably. I still have a chance, I guess.
Don't mess with
This game looks kind of interesting. It's called Beast Pets. It's a VR game with animals. It's kind of like a Tamagotchi. Seems like there's some different areas. They're kind of like half dragons. I don't know why you wouldn't just have dogs and cats also as an option. $8.49 for 15% off for VR. That's not a terrible game price for what this looks like this is. It's probably not the best virtual pet game on Steam, but it might be your only option for virtual reality. Now, the question to ask yourself is, do you want a virtual reality pet that you can pretend like you're petting but you can't actually pet, or would you prefer to just get a real pet? Like, it's probably easier just to get a real pet
Turn to get ready.
than spend the money and effort. But there are people in scenarios where they can't get pets, so I could see that idea. That being said, I'm not going to put it on my wish list. Finally I get a victory. Just have to move over to casual. That's all it takes. Next we have a game on Steam that called Devil Engine. This looks like it's a bullet hell shooter with also dark screenshot syndrome built into it as the game. It's intentionally designed, I think, to be really dark, or maybe that was just a trailer was designed to look dark.
versus Arthas.
As a bullet hell shooter, it looks fine. It's just not one of those games I want to play. $17.99 discounted is a lot of money, certainly. I've heard of a few really well-known bullet hell shooters for that price, but I think that's asking too much for a brand new bullet hell shooter. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of those type of games on Steam. I think you could find better.
None will survive.
Next we have a game called Winkleje, or Winkle the Little Shop. I like the cartoon aesthetics here, and we're starting to look at actual games from like last weekend that I had in backlog. There's several different shop simulator games. I don't know how far this really goes. Is it just a building a shop and decorating game? It's in early access for $8.49 right now. I'm willing to put this on the follow list because I like their art aesthetic. It doesn't seem like they're trying to be cheap on this. There might not really be any game here at the end of the day. That's still totally a possible outcome. But it's rated pretty positively, like 40. It's positive out of 42 reviews. So I'll put it on the follow list. We'll see how far it gets out of early access. Most of these games tend to never get out of early access anyways, so kind of doesn't matter.
Crystallize.
Let's see, I'm gonna do that and then return. Next we have a game on Steam called Space Rabbits in Space. I think the only reason I even kept this game on Steam to show off is the name. It's got some different skins, but it is kind of a bouncing off the wall Super Meat Boy style game, and yeah, those are just the kind of games that make my hands cry in pain. So $6.99 discounted if you're interested, but doesn't look bad. It just looks too intense for me. Alright. This.
You are the shadow's puppet.
This. And.
Crystallize.
Next, we have a game on Steam called The Window Box. This is an interesting art style here. Like, it feels perhaps a little bit French in the way it's drawn, but it could be, in general, a Western art style, not influenced heavily by anime, and we could certainly use a lot more of this. This is tag sexual content visual novel. I should have checked that. Doesn't seem like there's anything too offensive in the screenshots. They seem to have kind of fixed that as an issue. $12.99 is a pretty expensive visual novel, but not too expensive. So I'd like to put this on the fall list and see if it works. A Western visual novel that actually is good is certainly something of interest to me. Let's do that. Yeah.
You have my gratitude.
Now, this next game isn't tagged for sexual content, despite its name. We have Dick Wild 2. This is a VR game where you're on rails or on a raft and shooting piranha as a hillbilly in VR. It actually doesn't look too bad. Looks like you got some bright colored different types of guns, and it looks like, compared to a large contingent of stand in one place and shoot these boring waves of zombies coming at you, putting it on a raft on rails made it look pretty good, frankly. $16.99 discounted. I would heavily suggest playing the first game, and I'll check that out and see if there's something that can be said about that too while we're at it.
Injured? Crystallize.
Let's see if they have first game on Steam. Yeah. So the first game came out in March 2017. It's rated positively, and it looks pretty good too. So I'll put the first game in the series on my, I guess, wish list. It doesn't have a lot of, well, I'm gonna put it on the fall list because it's a VR game anyways, but doesn't have a lot of reviews, and it's $14.99 with no discount right now, but yeah, it looks good. Next, this guy's just slowly deciding who he wants to attack. We have Warhammer Age of Sigmar Champions, which is a collectible card game. It looks pretty. I don't know if I could get into a Warhammer collectible card game though. Like that feels kind of monotone in the creatures you would be attacking and fighting. It's free to play with in-app purchases. So I'll put it on the fall list and keep an eye on here. I don't think I'd skip over from something like Hearthstone to play Warhammer though. But that's kind of the problem with any collectible card game, is in comparison to how much time and energy I've invested in Steam, in Hearthstone, not Steam, it's unlikely I could ever easily transition to something else until the entire community is just abandoned Hearthstone. Well, I would have talked about Devotion right then. At that point, it was one of the games that came out, but Devotion has since been removed due to controversy previously talked about. And any game that's removed when you try to reload the page just takes you to the front page of Steam, which is dishonest, frankly. I'd like to see a page that says this game is no longer available on Steam. Here's the reason, or something like that. Don't just send me back to the front page, because that's just going to cause me to try and find that page again and go, oh, I must have clicked something wrong. It wastes your bandwidth, wastes my time. Yeah, I'm probably going to lose here. Yeah, he's going to win in this turn. So we've got a game on Steam called Red Tractor Tycoon. You're playing as a red tractor, you're on hex grids, you're doing some sort of farming. I half wanted to give it a chance, but honestly, after playing Stardew Valley, I don't think I could ever be satisfied with any kind of farming game. I don't see also why this needs to be on a hex grid pattern like that. It seems arbitrary, and probably because they are pre-bought assets. It's $11.99, and in early access that's a little too expensive for what is a strategy farming simulator. Like, considering how like Farmville, I believe, was free. Next we have a game on Steam called Death Waves, which is just a first-person shooter with a bunch of assets in it. It looks kind of polished in some places. You really have to look hard into the details and just see an inconsistency in different things in the background and the foreground and all of this. It's early access for $2.99 discounted, which is way too expensive. It has 100 achievements, which tells you it's an achievement game. So they just immediately let me win there. Alright, we've got just a little bit more games to talk about if we can burn through them. I'll hop into one more game and we'll just see if we can maybe win with Hunter. Let's see. Next we have on Steam Heart of the Woods. I heard a somewhat famous YouTuber was playing this game, and apparently it's about a Yuri anime girl falling in love with a ghost girl. It looks nicely animated, and yeah, it's a visual novel. It's tagged with nudity. I don't know how much of that really there is. Seems like it's just a romance visual novel. $14.99 for a visual novel, probably not that much. You're not getting Japanese language, which kind of sucks. That's something certainly to consider. But yeah, this should go, I guess, in the wish list. It's already rated very positively, so the fans of visual novels are liking it. This next game is not a game I'd really recommend anybody play or buy, but it is an interesting concept for basically a mobile game. It's called Volcano Tower. It's weird that it's on Steam, but it's kind of like a Tetris game, but you're jumping as a character as the rocks fall down, and you're collecting gems, so it's kind of like an infinite jumper climber game also. And all this would be a lot fine on Steam if it wasn't so narrow in its height. That just makes it so obviously a mobile game. It even says tap to start on it. They want $2.99 for it, and I cannot justify playing a mobile game like this on Steam, but the concept is an interesting combination of Tetris and Doodle Jump. I thought that was slightly interesting. Next we have a game called Viking Sigurd's Adventure. This is a platformer, but it looks like it has a little bit of polish on it. And I'm always talking about how I'd like a Super Mario Bros. Clone game, and very often we see these platformers that are just very, very poorly developed and very ugly. And so I think this one deserves a follow to see if it actually turns out to be a somewhat decent platformer game and if it's worth playing. There's definitely some problems that we're seeing here with not seeing a lot of fighting and mostly just seeing jumping and collecting coins. But yeah, I'm gonna give that a follow. And they're not playing, so that makes this even harder. Next we have a game on Steam, Heretic Operative. This is basically a turn-based board game. I like the polish on it. I'm not sure I'd ever want to play board games though, but yeah, there's a lot of polish here, and it's rated positively, so I guess I'll put it on the wish list. Like, this seems like it's a well done idea. Maybe I'd only play this board game in digital form once and then find it's just too long or too boring. It's $19.99. That's really expensive, certainly, but it would be helpful if I knew that there was actually a popular board game called Heretic or Heretic Operative already out there. But I've never heard of anything by that name. So I'm willing to give it a follow and see how it goes. It's gonna take forever playing as a spell warrior. Next we have a game called Evo Space that is an adventure simulation. Let's say it's a sandbox game, procedurally generated world game about digging, exploring, and building technology. Is it really a game here, or is this just a bunch of asset flips? Like, show me in the trailer if there's... Like, these seem like concepts of a game. Like, halfway to something like a Minecraft, but without that player base or that interest. I don't see how this could ever be anything other than just a concept. It might work perfectly, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, it kind of is just directly stealing from Minecraft. So I don't think Evo Space is one for me. So let's do that. And in the turn.
Too soon.
Just got a few more to go. Next we have a game on Steam called Star Drop, which looks like it is a sci-fi space adventure game. All you're seeing is screenshots here, but it is rated very positively, so people are liking it. It must just be first person perspective, and they didn't and there's like no gun or that you're always holding on to. That was interesting. As I was playing Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2, is just the realization that, hey, there's no way to see your health or your shield, so you don't know if you're about to die or not. Star Drop will get a follow, or maybe just go to the wish list. I'm questioning at what point I should do a special video to clean up my wish list. It probably needs to happen at some point, but I'm not sure when the next sale is, and that's really what it's going to come down to, is when is the next Steam sale.
I hunt alone.
Right. Next we have a game called The Dead Tree of Ronchiuna. Says it's a walking simulator, but it looks really pretty, and I'm willing to give walking simulators a try. It looks like it has some life in it too. Yeah, that's the number one thing that kills walking simulators generally, is there's no animals or people in it, so you're walking around an empty world. This is $7.99. This is the same guy though that has made all these Nephi's games, I just realized. So yeah, he's kind of blacklisted. Like, I'm not willing to play his games because his games all seem to look really pretty and then in the screenshots, and then they're kind of not that, or not well received. Well, we got a victory there. Moving up in the rank. I don't think we need to play another game. Let's just stick onto this. Next we have a game on Steam called The Texorcist Story of Ray Bibia. This is a Typing of the Dead style game. I haven't heard people... I haven't heard any good reviews of it, but apparently people who actually bought the game on Steam like it. So it is a bullet hell game that adds certainly something to it, but if it's a typing bullet hell game, maybe I could play that. So I'm willing to put this on the follow list. $14.99 is asking quite a lot for the level of graphics here though. So maybe I put it on the follow list also. Let's see what the next game is. Next we have a game on Steam that looks like a kids game called Tess Elated. It's probably a mobile game. It's got different levels, and basically you're, I guess, maybe answering some questions on top of doing tessellations. Yeah, it looks like this kind of a game here. So, thrilling puzzle gameplay. Yeah, that looks interesting. It looks nicely drawn. Yeah, you don't always have to go for the hyper-realistic graphics. If this is the art style you can do and you're comfortable with it, make your game look like that. It'll stand out in Steam so much better than yet another anime character in a field of nothing but anime characters. Next we have a game on Steam called New World Horizon. It's got a kind of polished life bar and interface here. It's early access and it is a survival game, and so I'm really iffy on this because of those two things, but there's a level of polish here and a level of different artistry, a different environment, a different kind of focus that at $4.99 maybe it would turn out to be good. So I'm willing to give it a follow and see what happens. But yeah, it probably is not going to succeed. And so now at this point, this is where we're going to hit games that came out probably a week or two ago. We have Jewel Match Solitaire, L'Amour, which is from Grey Alien Games, the creators of Regency Solitaire. They already had a game, I'm pretty sure, called Jewel Match Solitaire, so at this point they are double dipping quite a lot actually. Jewel Match Solitaire, Jewel Match Twilight Solitaire, Jewel Match Winterscapes, Jewel Match Solitaire L'Amour. They want like $30 for a bundle of solitaire games, and that's getting greedy. So this is not making it to the list, and I'm gonna have to rethink if I want to really cover all Grey Alien games. What it might really boil down to is that Shadowhand is made by a different publisher, and that might be the case. Or it might be that they've decided to make a lot of money by releasing a lot of solitaire games. So yeah, I'm willing to get Shadowhand at some point and play that, but I'm not really willing to go any further down that rabbit hole. I don't need to play every solitaire game in the world. Next we have a game on Steam called Degrees of Separation, which seems like the screen splits. You have like a ice version and a fire version, and you probably control both characters at the same time, or you have to play in co-op. Let's see. I'd have to do some research here to make sure I can play this in a single player mode. It says single player. It's $19.99 with no discount. It's an interesting idea, certainly, but the story is going to be the killer on this too. If this is just an interesting gimmick that makes a sort of short game, or doesn't really do anything with it, then it'll be kind of dull. It'll be along the level of the Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, because after a certain point playing that game, controlling both of the brothers didn't really feel fun, and then the story just kind of went crazy in a crazy direction and then ended kind of out of nowhere. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Treehouse Man, and we only have a few more games. This looks like an RPG. It says it's an action RPG strategy game? I don't know. I don't know about this one. I kind of like the art style, but it also kind of feels monotone. Feels like you're just staying on this boat the entirety of the game. With a platforming section at some point. I'll put this on the follow list, but it wants $9.99, and that was definitely not an impressive trailer. And the screenshots are not really feeling super impressive either. It is rated positively, but is below my 20 review threshold, which frankly my 20 review threshold should probably be higher in the first place. So yeah, I'm going to be exceedingly generous on that one. Next we have a game called Plane Mechanic Simulator. Sounds like a slightly interesting idea. Now this is the kind of game that also could be a nightmare. It might require you to have actually worked on these old planes in the past, or it might be just repetitive as can be and you have to rivet every panel on. It is rated mostly positive though, so I'm willing to try it once it's out of early access. It is from the same developer as Car Mechanic Simulator, which I would be more interested by far to play Car Mechanic Simulator, because I feel like I'd learn something useful here, whereas Plane Mechanic Simulator might teach me a few basic concepts, but I doubt I'd ever need to repair an old plane. It's rated mostly positive though, so I'll put it on the follow list. We've got actually quite a lot of games that are going to either the wish list or the follow list, and I'm going to have to double look at them to check which one goes where. But I guess that's just a consequence of the backlog. Next we have a game on Steam called Blind Date, which is just like a text-based dating simulator, I think. Maybe with a rewind function, and that's what that video is depicting. It's really just seems like it's 2D. Choose your conversations. I'm not sure how many times you could play this, or if this is really just one one playthrough and you're done. It's $6.99. And this might be a troll game, it might be a joke game, but I'm willing to see what the reviews say on it. That'll guide me quite a bit. Next we have a game, a bunch of Asian characters, Faith in the Goddess Suwa, tag sexual content, free to play RPG. Why was I talking about this one? I don't think this one's in English. Oh, it is. Oh, interesting. There was something about this one. I like the art style. I like what this looks like as far as the type of game it is, but I'm not really sure what kind of game it is. Guess it's an RPG, but I'm not really seeing any incidents of it. It's also free, so if you want to play it, it's available. Probably just wanted to cover it because of the art style. Let's see. I don't think it has any videos. That's the thing that would really help me determine whether I want to see it or not. Next we have a game on Steam called G-Gang, which is a VR baseball game. It looks like it's probably a Japanese focused baseball game or Asian of some orientation focused VR game. With any sports game like this, playing in VR might make you better at baseball, might make you worse. The concept here of targeting and trying to hit specific things for rewards doesn't sound terrible. The game looks a little basic, but it doesn't look terrible. It's $5.99 without a discount. That's pretty cheap for a video game, VR game. It requires virtual reality headsets. But I have yet to see the perfect version of a lot of sports games in VR. There's still a lot of work, if any more work is going to ever be committed to make VR games, which is kind of a big if. I suppose for me, this still doesn't reach the level of quality that's good enough, so I'm not going to bother to put this on the wish list. I seriously doubt I'd ever buy a VR headset anyways. I figure you could also hit the planes and the balloons over there too. Of course, there's a question about whether the baseball is just being automatically directed towards the goals and the game is helping you or not. That's definitely a question. And if you were going to try and do this in VR, I could imagine a lot of people having a baseball bat in their hand and breaking something. Moving on, we have 4 more games. We have a game on Steam called The Last Letter, which is a VR game where looks like it's an adventure puzzle type game. You're gonna end up going some different directions. It doesn't look too bad. Actually looks pretty good for a VR game. It's $24.99, which is pretty expensive for a VR game. And who's to say how long it is? Are you spending the vast majority of your time inside this apartment, and are you just teleporting to a few other scenes where you can barely leave the area? This might just be a slightly better collection of VR demos than what you typically see. I'll put it on the follow list though. It's got a high level of polish that deserves a chance. Next we have a game on Steam called Insanus Express, which looks like it is kind of the same as Theme Hospital, except for it's crazy people. Instead of wacky silly people, it's wacky crazy people. I don't know if that really changes much. really, as far as the gameplay. I'll give this a follow and give it a chance. It's $9.99 without a discount, but there's a good chance you'd want to play Theme Hospital first, and probably that only. Let's make sure we don't get demonetized and family friendly. Next we have on Steam Negligee Love Stories, which is the continuation of the Negligee series. Tag sexual content, nudity, also rated mostly negative at 20% right now, so people are not happy with it. It's $13.99, and Negligee is, I guess, always going to be somewhat remarkable as the first, this game, Negligee, the first fully uncensored game on Steam. This game mostly positive. Apparently Love Stories as a continuation is not getting as well received. I'll put it on the fall list and we'll see what happens. I'm not sure that ever means I'll play any of the Negligee series, but whatever. It has that distinction, and I'd like to see the creators who took a bold chance or just got lucky probably potentially be rewarded for their bold stance, whereas there's been a lot of other creators on Steam that have said we're just going to continue to censor our games in part or in total because we don't trust that Steam will remove us from the store otherwise. Next we have a game on Steam called Pumped BMX Pro. A new Trials game came out. This is a Trials clone. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't just want to play the new Trials game or one of the old Trials game instead of playing a Trials clone that is from a kind of unknown developer or publisher. $14.99 for this. I guess if you were completely done with Trials, here's 200 more challenges you could try, but the thing there is it might not play well. It might not have the tight controls that are necessary. And with that puts me at the Humble Bundle store, and somebody's typing here. Let's go ahead, and we're just gonna have to remove anybody who types in the chat from now on, because particularly if they're not typing in English, because I have no idea what he just said in whatever Asian language that was. I'm looking at the Humble store. There's the Mixed Bundle Fantasy Game Dev still going on. The Humble Monthly. There's like 17 more hours for the Great Game Maker Games Bundle. And I bet when that ends, that'll be the end of, we'll get a new Game Maker Bundle. Or Games Bundle. Okay. And what are the odds on a Monday that something new of importance, like Overwatch adds a new hero called Baptiste. Let's see. Scrolling down here. Let's see. 4 years ago, according to Gearbox, Homeworld Remastered Collection was released. Which, what does that mean? Psychonauts and Surviving the Publisher Shuffle. There's an article there. I opened that article. Interesting. Dirt Rally 2.0 came out. We'll talk about that on Wednesday. And we're kind of stretching things here. Let's see. We've been streaming for about 3 hours, so I just have to scroll back until I see something from about 3 hours ago. I'm fine. Let's see. GameIndustry.biz says the game Devotion will come back, as another update is still happening there. We'll talk about that story more, I'm sure, on Wednesday. Articles 13 and Articles 11 are about to be passed potentially, so that's a problem. OBS version 23 with Twitch Mixer integration and more apparently is now out, so now would also be an interesting thing to do. Also, OBS now has a Patreon and Open Collective. What's Open Collective? Interesting. I'll have to research that. As Patreon alternative sounds like an interesting concept. Scrolling down for video game news though. We'll buy one get one free at ThinkGeek on all clearance products. Good Old Game lays off a dozen of employees over reported financial strain. That's surprising. Supermassive trademarks House of Ashes. Interesting. New game. One would assume. World Tree Marche for Switch launches February 28th in the West. Never heard of that game. Let's see. I don't understand how Good Old Games would be under financial strain after making all that money on Witcher 3. Wouldn't that be a kick in the pants? Certainly, though, if Good Old Games shut down and everybody who had games on Good Old Games now had to rebuy them on Steam. Here's an article. Brexit has fostered a culture of fear among British game developers. I'm sure it's not just British game developers. I'm just scrolling down. I think we're done. Okay. So often at these at the end of these streams we end up just having the video sit kind of motionlessly. But yeah, that worked. That's gonna be it for the stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos because it helps me with YouTube. When you subscribe, please click the notification bell. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.